welcome to this Q&A, everybody. Welcome to everybody who's here live. A really good amount of you show up every week live, which is fantastic. And I'm sorry that we've had daylight savings. I apologize for the daylight savings. I don't have any control over it, so I know it's an hour earlier for most of you, and it seems like everybody got the memo, though, and everybody's shown up. So well done for paying attention. Well done. Gold star for all of you today. So let's get started with the questions. We have D. Ramjet is asking the first question, and she says, Kim, I have a question based on something you spoke about in the last Q&A regarding menopausal women requiring 200 calories less per day to maintain their current weight. My question is, does the macro calculator here on the app take this into account when providing a calorie guide? For example, my TDEE was calculated at 1800 calories to maintain my current weight. Do I need to subtract 200 calories from this number for maintenance and even more for fat loss? Thanks in advance. Okay, Dee, this is a really great question. And the answer is yes and no. Yes and no. So the macro calculator in the app actually does have less calories than a standard macro calculator would have. And that's because I purposely set it that way, because people always tend to overestimate the amount of exercise that they're doing. And that's the bottom line. So I don't know why this keeps freezing and then loading again. So people always tend to overestimate the amount of exercise they're doing. So I tend to set the calculations lower than they would need to be, because I always err on the side of caution, because if someone is under eating slightly, then they can have a snack, or they can have a little bit off plan, because the bottom line is most women are not sticking to the calories that they are allocated religiously. Like if you're not on a plan, if you're not on a specific shred or have a specific timeline or specific goal, if you feel hungry, you're going to have a little bit of extra food, right? You're like, okay, I'm counting my calories, whatever. But there's going to be like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, a little bit of extra this, a little bit of extra that. So I take that into account. I take human behavior into account and know that women are not going to stick to low calories all the time. So because of this, because I understand human behavior, I always set the calculator macros a little lower than the standard macros. So how your calories are worked out whenever you use a macro calculator is whenever you multiply your BMR, so you work out your basal metabolic rate by figuring out how much muscle you have to fat and non-muscle, basically. So how much of your body is lean tissue, like ligaments, tendons, muscle mass, all that kind of stuff, and bone, obviously, and then how much is body fat. The higher amount of lean tissue you have, and if you're super tall, you're going to have more ligaments, more tendons, more lean tissue that isn't cartilage and that kind of stuff, that isn't muscle mass. And so we work out your BMR by working out what your lean tissue is, and your lean mass is your bone and your everything that isn't fat, and then what your body fat is. The higher the lean mass you have, the higher your metabolism is going to be, the more calories you're going to burn at rest. So once we've worked out your BMR, then that figure is multiplied by an activity factor. The activity factor is worked out by you estimating how many times a week you exercise. So if you have a very sedentary lifestyle, then you're hopefully going to put that in the calculator. If you work out, 1 to 3 times a week, like it's very generic. It's like I work out 1 to 3 times a week, which is light sports and exercise. I work out 4 to 5 times a week, medium sports and exercise. I work out 6 to 7 times a week, hard sports and exercise. So you're kind of you are estimating how much you work out and how much you move and how much you train. The bottom line is most people, not just women, most people, men and women, overestimate. They overestimate because they don't want to seem like lazy bastards, if I'm honest. And I used to do this as well. Like I used to do calculators, and I used to then, say, well, yeah. And then I used to think in my mind, well, how many times do I intend to work out? At the minute, I might have a pretty sedentary lifestyle, but like now that I'm doing this calculator, I definitely intend to work out 5 days a week. So I definitely am verging on the medium to hard side. So I'm going to put down 5 days a week. And that's what people do. Most people, 90% of people, I would say. So given this behavior equation, I usually set the activity factor a bit lower, because of the fact that people are not honest, and they're not bad. They don't have bad intent. Like, let's just separate I don't mean they intend to deceive, but they're just not honest with themselves. So the macro calculator in the app does actually take into account the 200 less calories per day that women in menopause need to eat in order to maintain their current body fat or their current body composition. And for those of you who missed the Q&A where I talked about this, basically what I was saying was research has come up recently that in my research, what I have found is that a woman in menopause, because of how her body creates insulin resistance within the cell tissue to divert more energy to fat stores to create more estrone, a weaker form of estrogen, because of how the body does that, the body actually shuts off absorbing a certain amount of calories so that it can divert a percentage of calories to fat store. So because of this, a woman isn't absorbing everything that she eats in menopause. So you're never absorbing everything you eat anyway, but where your muscle cells would have absorbed 80% of the glucose available from the food you eat, maybe stored 20 as fat, the muscle cells are becoming resistant to insulin, meaning they're not opening when insulin's knocking on the door saying, hey, I have glucose for you. They're maybe only opening, one receptor to receive the glucose, whereas before they would have opened 3. So that glucose is circulating around your blood, and then your pancreas are pumping out more insulin trying to store the sugar, and they're frantically knocking on the muscle tissue. Please open up, let us get rid of this sugar. And the muscle tissue's like, no, like a child you're trying to spoon feed. They're like, and so therefore the body has to put that glucose into fat. So because of how the menopausal woman's body does this, you actually need to eat about 200 less calories a day. That's what they hypothesized. 200 less calories per day to get the same results that you got before you were in menopause. I mean, how unfair is that? It's not like we don't have enough shit to go through every day. Between the sore feet and the sore heads and the constant hormonal fluctuations and the herpes and the hemorrhoids and all of the shit that we have to go through, the frozen shoulder, the gluteal tendonitis, the tennis elbow, like the sleepless nights. Women in menopause just have such a shit time. Like, it's awful. And I'm now coming kind of to the end of it now. Like, my cycle is very, very irregular. I think I'm now like 40 days since I had a last period. And I'm hoping now that this is kind of the end of it. My mum and my sisters, they just stopped suddenly. And like, that was it. Didn't come back at around my age. So I'm hoping that now this is it. And I'm not having these hormonal fluctuations anymore, which is lovely. But I haven't started the hot flashes. So I'm waiting for those to start. And I'm not looking forward to it. But they might not start maybe so severely since I'm on HRT. Let me just take off talking about being hot. Let me just take off my hoodie. So what was I saying about the app? Yeah, so you need to eat 200 less calories to maintain your current body composition. And we have it really freaking hard. So yes and no, the app macro calculator wasn't set up like that intentionally for menopause because I didn't have that data when I was setting it up, but it is set up that way unintentionally, which actually is a good thing for you guys. So you can be assured that when you're putting in your calculations, they are actually accurate. Now, one thing I would say, Dee, I have been pushing a lot of truth bombs recently, as you probably noticed on my social media. Excuse me, and also in the Butt Camp Monday Q&A call. I think it's very important that women understand what it takes. And I think that what's happened is recently I'm nearly 10 years in business. I'm 10 years in business next year. And 9.5, I'm in my 10th year of business now. And I've been literally repeating the same message for the last 10 years. And it just doesn't really seem to be going through. So I'm trying, it is for some women, but I'm trying a different way. And the way that I am trying to get the message across at the minute is with women is, I guess one of the most important ones, and I was thinking about this a lot today, is that what women don't seem to realize is that to keep the results that you get whenever you get there, like let's say you go on a shred and let's say you do back-to-back shreds, or let's say you did extreme body makeover. A lot of women did extreme body makeover. It had an enormous cash prize. And so it was $100,000 first prize. So women were very, very, very motivated to stay the course. And some women got insane results at the end of that extreme body makeover. But then once the program finished, they just went back to eating normally. So they maybe kept training or didn't train or trained sporadically, but they went back to living their life the way they lived it before. And then we're kind of surprised whenever, after 6 months of really, really hard work, a month later, they looked almost like they did before they started the program. And what a lot of people don't seem to realize, a lot of women don't seem to realize, is the work that got you the results that you were after. Let's say you finally reach your body goal. You have visible muscle mass, if that's what you want. You have nice sculpted shoulders. You have low body fat percentage. You feel strong. You're stronger in your lifts. But let's say you finally get to looking the way you want to look. Well, what you have to do to maintain that is keep doing the work that you did to get to that point. You can't stop. Like, if doing 3 days a week cardio and 5 days a week training and eating 1,500 calories a day finally got you to that body goal, that's what you have to do forever to maintain it. You don't stop. You don't get to a point where you go, oh, well, this is great. Now I can just cut out the cardio and go to training 3 days a week and I'll just go back to eating normally. It doesn't work like that. If you go back to doing what you did before, then you'll go back to the results that you had before. I mean, of course, you'll be slightly further on because you'll have had more muscle mass and more knowledge and all the rest of it. But I have had a lot of questions in Buns and Guns this week of women saying, what do we do after the program? What do we do after the program? I'm like, you just keep going. They're like, but what should I be eating? Well, you keep going with what you were doing in the program. Maybe not 1,200 calories, but certainly if you've still a lot of body fat to lose, then there'll be no harm in continuing on at 1,200 calories. And the women are horrified. They're like, 1,200 calories? I'm like, yeah, like if you eat that Monday to Friday and then you leave room in the weekend for some pizza or some chips or some, French fries or some, alcohol or whatever, then that, your calories will even out over the week and you'll be able to have those, like a meal out during the week with, a couple of beers if that's your thing. And then maybe a half a pizza on the weekend and, a breakfast out with your husband or your wife or whatever. It's those things become the bonuses, if you like. Those become like your refeeds and your cheats, and those become your little treats. They don't become the lifestyle. The problem is women go back. That's how the things that are your treats whenever you are on a shred program continue to be your treats for the rest of your life. If you want to maintain the body that you built, there's no getting there and then waving the white flag and it's like, I've arrived. It's not like you go, like you go on vacation, you're like, ta-da, I am here. And then you're permanently on vacation and you're like, you've arrived into that country and like you're there forever. It's not like that. There's no arrival. There's no like, I have arrived and now I can, change what I did. That's like saying in business, if you worked and worked and worked and worked and built $1 million or made $1 million, then what would you do to make $3 million? Well, you would do more of what you did to get to $1 million, right? Makes sense, doesn't it? And what would you do to go from 3 million to 10 million? Maybe none of you here have ever built a $10 million business. But if I asked you, you would probably say, well, I don't know, common sense would say you do more of what you did with more knowledge and better tools and probably, a better set of equipment and staff. But you do more of what you did to go from 1 million to 3 million to get to 10 million and beyond. But yeah, for some reason, when it comes to bodybuilding, we think there's something different. We think it doesn't apply. And so I'm not here to sugarcoat it. I'm here to tell you that if you want to get to that pinnacle point where you have the most incredible physique, then when you get it, the work doesn't stop. You have a great big cheat meal, a bucket of wine, maybe a vacation, and then you get right back to it. You get back into the gym 5 days a week. You get back on your training 5 days a week. You get back into your cardio. You get back on your diet. You don't have to count calories for the rest of your life. I certainly do not count calories at the minute, but I know from the food that I eat how many calories I'm consuming. And honestly, I am permanently hungry. I'm genuinely, and I don't know if I've ever told you guys that, but like I am permanently on the edge of hunger. Like I could eat, like I had my breakfast at 9 o'clock this morning. Whenever I ate my breakfast, my stomach was cramping so bad because I was so hungry, but I was working away in bed and I didn't want to didn't want to stop what I was doing. And when I finally ate, it was 9 o'clock in the morning. And then afterwards I was like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. And I was thinking, no, have a cup of coffee. Don't eat anymore. But I was like, I would have just continued to eat because I was starving, but I didn't. And so then I came into the office and had a cup of coffee. I didn't actually have one at home. I had a cup of coffee in the office. And then it came to like 11:30. And I was like, oh my God, I'm starving again. Like I'm starving. But I was like, no, I want to do these cardios or whatever. So I didn't eat. I didn't allow myself to eat. And I don't keep food in the office for that reason. Came to lunchtime. What I did was I did my cardio. And then after I had done my cardio, then I had my lunch. And I had a wrap, with vegan chicken and vegan cheese and some tomatoes and some, I think like mixed leaves on a low carb wrap and a little bit of vegan mayo. And that was lunch. There was nothing after it. There was no chocolates or biscuits or, there was nothing. It was just like that was lunch. And that will now do me until I'm going to go home after here. I'm going to put some dinner on. I'm going to train in the gym and then I'll eat dinner, probably 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. And that will be my food for the day. But all of those times in between the meals, I am starving. I'm not like, oh my God, I'm starving, but like I feel hungry most of the time. That's what it takes to be 14% body fat all year round. That's what it takes to be lean. That's what it takes to have my body. It takes that amount of discomfort 95% of the time. I am uncomfortable 95% of the time. And the little moments of comfort are when you get to eat or when you go out for a meal or when on the weekend, I relax a bit more, I go out for breakfast. But I'm still always careful with what I'm eating. I'm still always thinking, conserve the calories, conserve the calories, conserve the calories. Now, and here's the thing, right? If you don't want to be 14% body fat, if you don't want to look like me, then that's totally fine. If you're like, no way, Kim, like I don't want my life to be hard 95% of the time, totally fine. It doesn't have to be. You can, no problem, rock on. But what you can't have, and this is what I don't seem to be able to get across to women at the minute, what you can't have is my body your way. That is the one thing you cannot have. If you want my body, I'll tell you what it takes to have it. And whether you like it or not, or want to achieve it or not, is then up to you. You might say, well, actually, no, I'm happy with being 18% body fat, 20% body fat, 23% body fat. Great, no problem. Then you'll definitely be able to do less training, less cardio, and eat more food. But if you want to look like me, this is what it takes. So the level of comfort or level of discomfort that you're willing to endure will be directly reflected in the results that you get. And that is true across the board in life. My business has turned over more than $50 million. It's in 10 years because I am willing to be deeply uncomfortable most of the time. I get up at 4 a.m. I work all the time. On the weekend there, I didn't stop the entire weekend. I was gutting, sorting, organizing the house. I actually had pains in my feet from being on them so much on the weekend. My husband said to me, you are a machine. You never stop. And then I cooked a massive roast for everybody on Sunday night. I don't ever sit down. I literally never sit down when I'm just sitting or watching TV. I work and work and work and work and work. And if I'm not working on the computer, I'm working physically. So there's something, I'm so passionate about this at the minute because I just think that women are not being told the truth. They're not being given the truth. There's so much shit on social media at the minute about women need to eat more. Women do not need to eat more. Women need to eat more to build muscle. Those personal trainers are talking to the tiny majority of women who've been under eating for a very long time. But if someone's been eating 700 calories or 800 calories a day for a very long time, they are not overweight. They're not overweight. They're just not. You don't see overweight. You never saw overweight people coming out of the concentration camps in Germany. And that's the most extreme example I can give you. But you didn't, because they were starved of food. It is physically impossible for people to be overweight whenever they are eating 700 or 800 calories a day. Physically, scientifically, physiologically impossible. So all of this stuff that you're seeing on social media about how women need to eat more, women don't need to eat more. Women need to eat more consistently. I've gone off on a total rant here. I'm so sorry, but I just think it's so necessary. Women need to eat more consistently. And I don't mean they need to eat more consistently. I mean they need to eat more consistently, as in like with greater consistency. The consistency being the adjective here. So, or consistency as a noun, person, place, or thing. Yeah. So it's a noun. English never really was my strong point. So anyway, this is I guess the message that I'm trying to get across at the minute. So whenever I'm talking about the 200 less calories a day, women are asking me, well, how much should I be eating? Well, you should be eating exactly the amount to get you towards your goal. So whenever you talk to Dee, which is why I'm bringing it back to this, you said about maintenance. The TDE gives me 800 calories to maintain my current weight. Now I don't know if that's what you want to do. You don't, if whether you want to maintain or you don't want to maintain, but if it says 1800 calories to maintain, if you think that is too high, then eat a little less and see what happens. Eat 1600. Track 1600 calories for 6 months. And you're like, 6 months? Yeah, 6 months or 5 or 3 months at least. And then see what happens. And if you're slowly but slowly moving towards your goal and you're losing a little bit of body fat and you're getting leaner and you're getting stronger, great. Don't change it. Stay there. But what you can't have is my results your way. It's not possible. And the degree to which you are willing to be uncomfortable will be directly reflected in the results that you get in life, not just in your body, not just in bodybuilding, but in business, in your family, with your husband. Like I always say to my kids, your success in life is dictated by the amount of difficult conversations you're willing to have. I have phenomenal relationships in my life because I am willing to have the uncomfortable conversation with my husband, with my mother, with my sisters, with my kids. I do not avoid uncomfortable situations. I don't avoid uncomfortable conversations. So we put it on the table, we talk about it, we see each other's points of view, and we have deep and meaningful conversations and therefore deep and meaningful relationships. Your life is a direct reflection of how uncomfortable you are willing to be. Your body is a direct reflection of how uncomfortable you are willing to be. Being in phenomenal shape requires a daily amount of discomfort. A daily amount of discomfort. If you are a comfort seeker and you are chasing comfort and you cannot do without food or your little morning treat or whatever, then you cannot expect to get the results like mine. And I'm only using me as an example because I know a lot of women say, oh my God, Kim, I'd love to look like you. Well, this is what it takes to look like me. I'm uncomfortable 95% of the time. I'm hungry 95% of the time. That's what it takes. So if you want to maintain D, then just choose a calorie amount. If the calculator said 1800 and you want to try 1800, go on ahead. If you feel that's probably too high for you, then feel free to start lower. And don't be afraid to eat less calories during the week to save those little bits of joy for the weekends or the evenings. Because I think the other thing that people don't realize is whenever the macro calculator says you need to eat 1800 calories to maintain, it means 1800 calories consistently every day. It doesn't mean 1800 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and 2500 on Thursday, 1800 on Friday and Saturday, and 3000 on Sunday, which is what a lot of women do, right? They, oh, I'll just have this little bit extra. I'll just have this little bit extra. If you know you're a little bit extra, then you need to build that into your plan. If you're going to, go out on a Saturday night and have a nice meal out and have a pizza and some garlic bread and a bottle of wine, well, you need to build that into your plan. You need to slash those. That's 1,000-calorie meal. In fact, it's probably more. It's probably a 1,500-calorie meal. Half a bottle of wine, a pizza, and a dessert is probably a 1,500 to 2,000-calorie meal. So if that is your jam on the weekend, you need to cut those calories off during the week. You need to eat 2,000 less calories Monday to Friday. So that's how I maintain my current body composition. I eat very, very, very low during the week. And then I'm able, people always say, how are you able to, drink alcohol and have the body you have? Because alcohol is calories and my calories are low enough 80 to 90% of the time to allow me to have alcohol anytime I want, which really isn't that often. Like a couple of beers on the weekend or a couple of glasses of champagne. Like I had 3 glasses of champagne on Friday, which is quite a lot because we were at our neighbors. And then I think I had 2 beers on Saturday. Did I have anything on Sunday? I think I had a gin and tonic. I had 2 gin and tonics actually on Sunday. So I had what was that? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drinks on the weekend. But I can afford the calories for 7 drinks because of how I live during the week. So make it the sense? Good. Laurie has the next question. Cardio, how much and how often? During boot camp, I've been doing over 2.5 hours a day to lose this excess fat. I know you have used the same platform in other programs. So would I be okay doing just what is laid out, i.e. the 2 workouts daily, or is adding this beneficial? I don't get on the scale during competitions, so I don't know how much weight I've lost adding in the extra cardio, but the results I'm getting are nuts though. Seeing my back was truly shocking. So here's the thing, Laurie, it all comes back again to, if it's working for you and you're getting the results that you want to get and you're happy to keep that amount of cardio in your day, don't change it. The more you do, the better your results. Don't believe the bullshit that people say, you'll spike your cortisol levels and you'll stall your fat loss. No, you won't. You won't, right? This is just all pseudoscience that all of the influencers and PTs and everybody who has a fucking smartphone and a bloody microphone these days and an Instagram account is putting up, because they know it gets clicks, they know it gets views, because honestly, women want to hear, if you exercise excessively, you will spike your cortisol levels. You know why they want to hear it? Because they don't want to exercise. Right? If you do HIIT workouts, it'll spike your cortisol and it'll slow down your fat burning. Great. Well, you know what I definitely should not do? HIIT workouts. I should continue to go for that 30-minute meander with my dog that I count as cardio, which is really just a short amble down the road. And because if I do HIIT workouts, they will spike my cortisol levels. You know, that is how most women operate. No one in this group, obviously, and certainly not me all those years ago. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that is why. So people want to believe what they see on social media, because if it suits them, people believe what suits their arguments. They believe what suits their values and suits their beliefs. So if I see something that reinforces what I believe or what I want to hear, well, I'm going to 100% click on that video and repost it on my Instagram and forward it to all my friends, right? Because it reinforces what I want to believe. I hate HIIT and I should not be doing it. And you see, this woman, this doctor said so. I was right all along. So, you know, that's what happens. And so really, Laurie, again, all comes back to, if you are doing 2.5 hours of cardio a day and you don't mind doing that amount of cardio and it's getting you the results that you want, then there's nothing wrong with keeping doing it. Nothing at all. I wouldn't take it away from you. But if you're at a point where you want to stop doing that amount, it's maybe too time consuming, too hard on the joints, whatever, you're bored and you just want to take a break, then by all means stop. Now, will your results continue at the same level? No, of course not. That's like saying, if I was training 5 days a week in the gym and I cut it down to 3 days, am I going to get the same results? No, of course not. But you're not putting in the same amount of work. The only way that would be true would be if someone was overtraining and, and maybe cutting, and they were really focusing on building muscle, like a male bodybuilder, and he was being overtrained. If he then cut back in his training and give his body more rest and recovery, then he could possibly build more muscle. But there's very few women in this group are at risk of overtraining. I am not at risk of overtraining. Okay, we're not. Overtraining is something that is done by big heavyweight bodybuilders shifting massive amounts of weight. It does not apply to 99.9% of the population. So a lot of stuff that you see and hear and read on social media is all aimed at the tiny little 1% at the far end of the spectrum. The woman who genuinely has been eating 700 calories a day and has damaged her metabolism or is borderline anorexic, okay? Everyone has this one edge case. Every PT has this one edge case that they have trained. The woman who, no matter what she did, could not lose weight. Turned out she had PCOS or endometriosis. And so her hormones were fucked, right? And so what she needed was a GLP-1 to help her to lose the weight. But that's the case that they'll focus on. Well, some women can't lose weight because their hormones are fucked. Yeah, one woman in 10,000. But it's this one, but that's what everyone holds on to. Oh, well, I might be one of those people because I've tried to lose weight and I can't seem to lose the weight. Well, how long have you been trying, Felicia? Well, I've been off and on this diet for a while, right? Okay, case in point, okay? So you can continue with the cardio, Laurie. You can stop the cardio. Will you get, you've said, would I be, would I be okay doing just what is laid out, i.e. 2 workouts daily, or is adding this beneficial? Well, whenever you say beneficial, my question then is beneficial for what? So if you want to lose body fat and you want to lose it as quickly as possible, the more cardio you do and the less food you eat, the faster the body fat will come off. That's the bottom line. If you cut down on your cardio and you increase your food intake, you may still lose body fat because you'll be in a calorie deficit, but you won't lose it as fast as you would lose it if you continued on that timeline. So it depends on how fast you want it. If you're like, I'm willing to do the hard thing for a lot longer just to see what happens, or if you're like, I'm tired and I'm ready to not do as much cardio, then ease off for a bit, right? Give yourself a break. Give yourself a break over the holiday season and then attack it fresh again in January. We're going to have another challenge in January. So there's going to be a challenge inside the app, and I'm going to run the same challenge outside the app like I'm doing with this one. So don't ask me what it is yet because I haven't planned it. But there's going to be another challenge in January, and you can like literally hit the ground running in January after you've had a nice break over Christmas. So this challenge will lead you up to the middle of December. And then in January, we're going to hit the ground running with another challenge, and that'll keep everybody moving forward. So the premise of what I'm saying and what I'm teaching at the minute is more exercise and less calories will result in faster fat loss. Always. Eating more does not result in faster fat loss. I'm sorry. Women need to eat more in order to burn fat. No, you don't. You don't. I used to teach that years ago as well. I should find videos of me teaching it because that's what everyone said, right? But what they really mean is if you focus on building muscle, you'll raise your metabolism. And whenever your metabolism is raised, you can eat more to maintain the current to maintain your body composition. That's really what people are saying whenever they say that. But you can build muscle without eating more. That's what people don't tell you. You don't have to eat more. Eating more is not a prerequisite for building muscle. Showing up to the gym, going to failure on your exercises, and stimulating the muscle beyond what it is currently capable of doing is what is necessary for muscle gain. And there is nobody in my company at the minute that I have seen that is at risk of starvation. I'll tell you that now. Not one single person that I have seen is at risk of not having enough body fat or enough food to build muscle. The edge case is the extreme woman who really is over exercising and is not eating enough food. That's the extreme edge case. I haven't seen any of those existing in my company. I'm sure they probably do exist somewhere, but I haven't seen them. They are not the majority. The majority of women have enough food and enough body fat to fuel their workouts and to continue to build muscle and burn fat with their current body composition and their current calorie intake. All you need to do is just commit to the process and keep going for a long time. Okay, Elizabeth McNulty asking the next question. It's quite long, so I'll see if I can skim it. She says she's committed to finishing the challenge. She's in butt camp. She says, I had to share that I had surgery just above my right eye and a skin graft on the 23rd of October, which means I need to take a break from exercise. Here's what I'm asking. What can I do during these 2 weeks to maintain the progress we've worked so hard for? Are there any low impact activities, modifications, or other strategies that would help me preserve my gains so I can jump directly into the next challenge? I'm determined not to lose momentum. So, Elizabeth, what I would say is, even though you've had eye surgery, so the first thing I would do is challenge you to challenge your doctor. Because quite often and I don't know anything about the surgery, by the way, so take everything I'm saying with a good grain of common sense and experience of your own body. But what I have found in the medical world is doctors will give generic advice for things. And most of the advice that they give is for stupid people. I hate to say it, but it's true. Most of the advice, like I look at mothers these days and who have newborns, and I am horrified by the shit and the rules and the regulations that they are all given for raising babies. And they're terrified to make a mistake. They're terrified. Everything needs to be sterilized. Like whenever we were young, was anything sterilized? No. Like it was just bucked in a bucket of hot soapy water, do you know? I can honestly say, hand on heart, right? I breastfed my babies, but they always would have taken a bottle as well if I wasn't there, a bottle of formula, a bottle of breast milk or whatever. So I always made sure they had both. I can honestly say, hand on heart, I never sterilized one single anything that my kids ate out of or drank out of. Like if they dropped their pacifier on the ground, I picked it up, sucked the germs off it, and stuck it back in their mouth. Like, I don't know about you guys, but that's how I was raised, right? I was raised with a good dose of common sense. I remember saying to my mum after I had Corey, he's 20 now, so, oh my God, maybe I need to sterilize the bottles. Mum was like, Kim, those rules are for stupid people. They're for people who literally live in cesspits and do not have clean homes and don't know how to wash their dishes, wearing rubber gloves and with hot soapy water. So, and then today it's like, you can't wean them onto solids until they're 6 months. And I'm like, 6 months? Mine were all weaned at like 3.5 months, right? Because they were fucking starving. They were massive babies. So I had baby rice, a bit of fruit, a wee teaspoon of butter. Like, it was just what you did. My grandma was like, I won't sleep at night. Give them a wee teaspoon of butter before bed. Great. From about 8 weeks, mine were getting a wee teaspoon of butter before bed. I just helped them sleep through the night. Like, now people will be horrified. Oh, you can't give a baby's young digestive system butter. So, but like, we're all fine. I would actually say we're more than fine. Like, if we didn't have all the autoimmune diseases and all of the, the chronic conditions and chronic asthma and chronic coughs and chronic ear infections and all the chronic stuff that exists today, because I honestly think that people just don't eat dirt enough. They don't, they just don't, or they don't have enough exposure to germs. So my point is, a lot of the rules and regulations that exist for stupid people. And I say that with love, but there are some really dumb people in the world. And so what am I trying to say? Whenever I got my boobs done, I got my boobs done in 2019, and I got mine under the muscle. And I went in to my surgeon whenever I went into the consultation. I said to him, how long after my boobs can I train? And he said, oh, 6 weeks minimum. And I went, 6 weeks? And he said, yeah, 6 weeks. I went, no, but how long is it really? And he goes, well, no, the standard guideline is 6 weeks. And I said, but 6 weeks for what? So I started questioning it. Do you mean 6 weeks just to train chest? He said, well, no, you can't train. I said, well, what do you mean by training? Right? I started like drilling him down on definitions. What do you mean training? Well, you can't do any exercise. I said, like, so I can't walk? Oh yeah, you can walk. I said, okay, so you can walk, right? So you can do some exercise. I said, but what about if I trained my legs? I said, my legs are very far from my tits. Like, what? Surely it'd be okay to train legs. And he said, well, and like, he'd never had anyone question him the way I was questioning him. So I drilled him down on details. So here was the detail I got to. They don't want you to tense your muscles on your chest, because if you tense your muscles on your chest, it can cause your boobs to separate. You want them to settle into their position in the middle, which, and not separate out, especially with the amount of chest muscle I had. He said he had never cut through chest muscle in his life like mine. So, but they don't cut through it. They just slice up into the chest muscle and then put the implant, underneath the front of the pec. So I said, okay, so I can't train, you don't want me to train chest. He said, so here's what you have to avoid. You have to avoid anything which presses the arms up and overhead, anything which expands the chest, anything basically which can move the chest. You don't want to tense the chest too much. I said, okay, so if I can train and avoid tensing my chest, which is then going to push the implants out, I can train. And he said, yes. I said, great, thank you. So 9 days, I was back in the gym. 9 days later, training legs. I trained. Now, did I go really, really heavy? No, but I did go heavy enough. But I just focused whenever I was training with Mark. I focused on completely relaxing my upper body, not tensing my chest or grinding my teeth, and focusing it all in the legs. And I tried all these different exercises. Like, will that work? Oh no, can't do that. Oh no, can't do that. What can I do? Biceps. Great. I can do biceps. I could do all bicep exercises. So I trained legs and biceps 3 times a week for, I think, a couple of weeks, whatever. And then it got to the point where it was like, oh, okay, well, I think this is okay now. So like overhead pressing was okay, or some kind of back or whatever. So from 9 days after my implant surgery, I continued to add exercises until at 6 weeks exactly, I was like, okay, chest, we're back on chest today. And I was under that bar, chest pressing. And people were like, but my surgeon said you're not supposed to train chest after you've had implants. And I was like, it's just such generic advice. So you guys know how heavy I bench press, right? And my boobs are great. Like they're absolutely perfect. They're the best things I ever did. So I guess what I'm saying, Elizabeth, is your surgeon has said you're not allowed to train, but have you drilled down on what training means? Have you drilled down on, can you do cardio? Can you walk uphill? Like I was on the Stairmaster. I got my boobs done on the Friday. I was home on the Saturday. I was back on the Stairmaster because I was like quite close to my, I was training for a bikini show. I think I got them done in November, and my show wasn't until next April, but I didn't want to lose my gains at all. So I was back on the treadmill, on the Stairmaster on Monday morning. I got my boobs done on Friday. I drove myself home from the hospital the next day, 3 hours. They were like, if someone come to pick you up, I was like, oh yeah, my husband's just outside, he's come to pick me up. No, I got my SUV and I drove myself home. And then I got back on the Stairmaster on Monday morning. And because my legs were moving. So I think that whenever surgeons say to me, you're not allowed to train, I'm like, come on, right? Let's get into the detail here, right? So you had surgery above your eye. So my question is, are you able to hip thrust? Lunge? Like, can you do Bulgarian split squats? Like, your eye is up, as long as you're not putting a lot of pressure on your eye or your head, I would imagine it might be okay. And I don't know the question. I don't know the answer, but I certainly would be asking the question, right? And you always have to ask, what is the risk? This is what I ask in my life all the time. What is the risk? If I do this thing, what is the risk? And most people don't know the risk because they don't ask the questions. So I would ask the question, Liz, what is the risk? What are they trying to protect you from with your surgery? Because let me tell you, most women love it whenever their surgeon says to them, you can't train for 6 weeks, because they're like, oh my God, I finally have an excuse to not have to do exercise, because most people want an excuse to not have to do it. Whereas I was the opposite. So Elizabeth, I would ask the question, like, what is the risk? And then figure out what you can do, because I'm pretty sure there's something that you can do. And I don't know what that is. Or it may be, no, Kim, I have to move everywhere at a slow walk, because any rush of blood or any raise of blood pressure in the area could cause a massive brain trauma and I will die. And in that case, disregard everything I've said. But I can't tell you what you should do, but I certainly know what I would be asking is, what is the risk? I would be finding out what the risks are. And then I would be tailoring a very specific program based on the risks. Maybe you can't do, RDLs, and you can't do stuff lying on the floor, right? Totally fine. But I bet you there's things that you can do. There may not be, but be open to the fact that there's things that you can do, and ask those questions, and then schedule your training around those. And then the other thing is, just stay on your meal plan. Like, you won't put on body fat if you stay on the meal plan. So that's the one thing you can control, is what you eat. So stay on the meal plan, figure out what you can do. And I promise, well, I don't know, I'm guessing that there may be things that you actually can do. And if there's not, well, all you can do is just do the meal plan and, go walking if that's allowed, and just stay as active as you possibly can, I guess. And good luck recovering from your surgery, by the way. I should have said that in the very beginning. I apologize if that came across as insensitive. I'm wishing you all the best, and all the best of luck for your recovery. Marie O'Neill. A question about setting out calories and macros on the app. I've set a goal of losing 1.4 pounds per week until the 17th of December. The app has calculated my daily intake to be 907 calories. I'm working out with heavy weights 3 times a week. What am I doing wrong working out my calorie intake? Marie, this is a very common question that we get, and it's quite funny. Actually, it used to happen all the time. Doesn't happen so much anymore. So basically, you've just given yourself too short a window to lose that amount of time, that amount of weight. So you've given yourself a really short window without doing extra cardio. If you're only training 3 days a week, that's really not a lot. 3 days a week to lose 1.7 pounds per week. Like, if you want to lose, losing a pound a week is hard. If you want to lose a pound a week, that usually for most people requires a 30-minute HIIT session or a 1 hour cardio session plus a 1 hour gym training session at least 6 days a week. 5 days a week in the gym, cardio 6 to 7 days a week, at least an hour. So, and that's for 1 pound a week. So if you want to lose almost double that effectively, but yet you're only training 3 days a week. So the macro calculator has said, okay, given how much you've told me you're willing to exercise, which isn't a lot, the only way you can lose this weight is to slash your calories. So that's why it's giving you a very, very low calorie intake. If you were willing to do more exercise, it'll give you a few more calories. Now, be warned, that's a lot of weight you want to lose in a very short space of time. So that's only like 6 weeks away. So you're basically saying you want to lose 10 pounds by Christmas. Like, that's a pretty big ask. If someone came to me and said they want to lose 10 pounds by Christmas, what should they do? I would put them on a 1,200 calorie diet, 7 days a week with no refeeds. I would put them on 2 hours of cardio a day, plus 5 days a week training in the gym. That's what I would say. And I would say, and even then, it's a push. So that's why it's giving you 900 calories because you're asking a lot of it. So either lower your expectations on your fat loss goal or increase your cardio that you're willing to do. I'm trying to think of another option for you. I would say lower your expectations, like 10. I would say 6 pounds by Christmas would be a more realistic goal, or 6 pounds by the 17th. But if you're going to lose 6 pounds by the 17th, you're going to have to train 5 days a week, and you're going to have to do at least 30 minutes of HIIT cardio or 1 hour of slow, steady cardio every day, possibly 2 sessions of cardio a day to be guaranteed that amount of fat loss. It's shockingly hard to lose weight. And then people go, but Kim, I see in your challenges that people lose like 30 pounds in 4 weeks. I'm like, they are the anomalies. Okay. They're not there are people who lose an enormous amount of weight. Sometimes it's like, the average, I guess, would be anywhere between 8 and 12 pounds, but that's, serious commitment to diet, serious commitment to weight, serious commitment to training. If you've been training for a while consistently, your results are not going to be as good as someone who's literally just coming in and starting. That's what it takes. That's why. Okay, Lorraine Russo Hardy. Hi, Kim. I'm currently doing Buns and Guns. I want to do the program over again as I started a bit later. I don't want to go from 1,200 to 15 calories. Should I start at 1,400 maybe? So, Lorraine, if you're comfortable at 1,200 calories, just stay there. There's no need to increase. So if you're comfortable with that amount of calories and you don't mind staying at that amount of calories, then just stay there and do another round of Buns and Guns. If you're doing the current Buns and Guns in the app, then you can just stay there at the 1,200 calories. If you feel like you need a little more calories, then by all means, you can increase, 300, 1,300, 1,400, and then work your way back down again. The programs are designed to be short shreds done for a short period of time. They're not supposed to be maintenance programs. Once you get the results that you got from a shred, you're supposed to go on to a maintenance program where you would choose a deficit amount of calories to eat every day, and you would eat those calories for a long period of time. And then you slowly, steadily lose the weight over time. So one of my private coaching clients, I have a couple of private coaching clients at the minute, and one of them, both of them I have on 1,500 calories. One of them is quite inconsistent with her calories because she's a high-powered lawyer and she's finds it hard to meal prep. The other one is super consistent with her calories, and she has lost. I think I've been coaching her now for 6 weeks, and is it 6 weeks or 8 weeks? Oh, I can't even remember. I think it's about 8 weeks actually. And I think do you know what? I think it's maybe 10 weeks, however long it is. I don't know. Whenever I sent out the email taking on coaching clients, whenever that was, so I think it was about 12 weeks, about 10 weeks now, maybe, or 12 weeks. Yeah, 10 weeks, I think it is. She has lost, I think, about 28 pounds in 10 weeks. And I have had her on 1,500 calories consistently. She hasn't increased her calories. She hasn't decreased her calories. She hasn't changed her exercise. She does 30 minutes of cardio, the Sculpt cardio, or the one from, just from the app. So she's a member of the app. She does 30 minutes of cardio a day. She does dumbbell workouts with me 5 days a week, and she eats 1,500 calories. She's done the same workouts, the same cardio, and the same calorie intake with the same macros for 10 weeks. And she's lost 28 pounds in 10 weeks. And we haven't changed a single thing. So if someone's willing to stay the course, to choose a deficit amount of calories, to choose an amount of cardio that they can stick to choose an amount of training that they can stick to, and they do that consistently for a long period of time, they will get results. It just takes a bit longer than these short, hard shreds that everyone's addicted to because they get massive results, and there's a big cash prize and there's the group energy and all the rest of it. And I totally get it, right? I'm the one who runs the shreds, so I'm, of course, a big fan of them. But what really is required is consistency over the long term. And if you commit to that, the results will be slower, but they will be more steady and they will be sustainable and they will be evident. So do whatever you want, but it would be good if you just chose an amount of calories that you could stick to and you stuck there for a long time, I guess is what I'm saying. Last question, Carrie Hill. I'm loving and hating the active rest in boot camp. How did you discover this? It's genius. I love the short, intense workouts. So Carrie, what happened was I saw a couple of complaints in one of the groups, I think, and I can't remember where it was, where it was here in the app or whatever. Just some people saying, oh, the workouts are, they were supposed to be 30 minutes. but they're like 40 minutes or 45 minutes and they're a bit long, and I wish they were shorter. And I am a woman of my word, and I did say that the workouts would be 30 minutes, I think, in one of the past challenges, and then they did kind of creep on a little bit longer. But the problem was I couldn't make them any shorter, because otherwise I wouldn't be getting the correct amount of muscle building in that I knew I needed to get in. And so this has always been my issue. It's like the strength workouts that I'm doing with the dumbbells are my actual workouts. I'm not just teaching them, you're doing my workouts that I'm using to build and shape and keep my body. And I want to feel when I walk away from a week's training that I hit every body part, that my back was worked adequately, my chest was worked adequately, my glutes were worked adequately. And I was struggling some days whenever I was, designing the butt camp workouts, because you'll know we only added in the active rest at like kind of week 4. And what was happening was, or the week 5, maybe it was, I was getting to the point where it was like, these aren't effective enough. I need to fit more in, but I can't fit more in without pushing the time over. So there was one day I just thought, rather than doing the seated abductions at the end, what if I did them in between the hip thrusts? And I did them then in my own workout, and it was like, oh, that was some serious glute burn. And I thought, well, that's really quite interesting. And then I thought, well, what if I do, rather than doing, then I started to look at the programming, and I thought, because this is all new to me, I haven't been training at home with dumbbells for years. So I'm kind of, on the journey with you. So then I thought, well, what if I started supersetting the upper body workouts to really just burn into the shoulders a bit more? Or what if I started supersetting chest and back? So because then what I started doing was supersetting on back day. I would superset this, superset that. And so on back day, whenever you're working with dumbbells, if because you have to do so much bending over, your back can start to ache. And my back, sometimes when I was teaching, was like, oh, it's aching. So I thought, okay, how can I do this better? Well, what if I supersetted back and chest? Because then you're going from bending over to lying on your back, bending over to lying on your back. So your back's getting a rest every time you're training chest. So it was like, yes, this works. So so I just started to play around with, how much can I humanly keep them doing before I give them a break? So can I do chest and back, chest and back, chest and back, then a break? Can I do, glutes and abductions, glutes abductions, and then a 1-minute break? So I just started shortening the rest periods and making the abductions and stuff optional. But I think most people do them. So that's really just where it came from. It was like, how can I make this workout more effective in 30 minutes? How can I fit more in? How can I get more burn? How can I build more muscle? And I definitely noticed my body changed once I started doing that. Like, I started building more muscle, and I started really feeling that the workouts were harder, and that really excited me. So I've just planned the first week of Buns and Guns, all the workouts now. And I hate to tell you all that the supersets continue. The supersets and the active rest are there from day 1, week 1. The new people, can you imagine, who are coming in are going to be terrified and shocked and horrified. They're going to be like, what is this hell I have walked into? But I'll make them all laugh while they're doing it, so they'll forgive me. So that's really where it came from. And that is now the new way that everything is going to be in the future. Everything is, apart from if you do a beginner's program, everything is going to be supersets, working in active rest periods, highest bang for your buck that you can get in 30 minutes. If you want to work out to be 30 minutes, well, you better be prepared to work in those 30 minutes. Because otherwise, if you want a nice 60-minute workout, well, then you can have loads of rest, loads of breaks. But if you want a really tough workout, if you want a 30-minute workout, you're going to have to work hard. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Great question. Thank you so much. Guys, there we go. All finished for today. That was a great Q&A. I went totally off on a big, long, self-indulgent rant in the beginning. So I apologize for that, but hopefully you all enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being here. Hope you enjoyed that Q&A. And for those of you in Butt Camp, see you all over in Butt Camp. For those of you not in Butt Camp, we're going to be opening Buns and Guns. We're starting to build it out in the app at the minute. As soon as it is ready, we will open it in the app. You'll be very happy to hear you're going to have downloadable meal plans this time. Not the meal plans that you have to add in. Everyone was saying last time they wanted to be able to download the meal plans so they could have the recipes in front of them and not keep having to open the app. Well, you asked and we delivered. That is what we're going to give you. So the meal plans are going to be able to be either viewed in the app as a PDF or downloaded. And if you want to then manually add them into your macro calculator every day, you can, but you're still going to be able to check them off every day so that, you know, and it's going to be much more like a workout, the meal plans, where it's like, check, did breakfast, check, did lunch, check, did snack. So it's going to obviously be able to check off, which I know you all love doing every day. And it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be like, we haven't had a challenge in the app in ages, so I'm excited. So that is all for now. Thanks all for being here. Love you all so much. And I will catch you all next week for another Q&A. Same time. Well, not same time, actually different time. Same time for me, different time for you, because you all have daylight savings this weekend. So we're back to normal time next week. Okay. Sending you all hugs and kisses. Thank you so much. And I'll see you all next Tuesday. Okay. Bye, team. Thanks for being here. Bye.